So picture this. It's 1932. The world is on a knife's edge, sliding toward absolute catastrophe. And in this moment of incredible anxiety, one of the greatest minds in history poses the ultimate question to another. This is the story of their remarkable exchange. This was the simple, devastating question Albert Einstein, the man who completely upended our view of the universe, sent in a letter to Sigmund Freud, the man who mapped the dark continents of the human mind. And for Einstein, you have to understand, this wasn't just some philosophical game. This was about the survival of civilization itself. And this wasn't just a private chat between two geniuses either. The whole thing was organized by an arm of the League of Nations. They were hoping that maybe, just maybe, these two giants could publicly figure out a path to peace for a world that was clearly losing its mind. Okay, so Einstein kicks off his letter by laying out what he sees as a pretty straightforward, almost administrative solution to war. He's a physicist. He's approaching this like a problem to be solved logically, step by step. He basically proposes a two-step plan. First, you create a kind of world court, an international body with the real authority to settle any fight between nations. And second, and this is the absolute key, you give that body the power, the actual force, to make sure its decisions stick. Sounds logical, right?
But Einstein wasn't some wide-eyed optimist. He immediately pokes a hole in his own plan. He asks the big question, why do these kinds of efforts always seem to fail so miserably? He knew the real answer wasn't in politics. It was in our heads.
Einstein points his finger directly at the psychological forces that just paralyze any attempt at peace. He talks about a ruling class in every country that's just hungry for power, and they're backed by people who actually profit from building weapons. And he saw exactly how they manipulate the public, using schools, the media, even religious institutions to whip up emotion and get everyone on board.
And that brings him to the real gut punch. He says, underneath all the politics and economics, there's something dark inside of us, a lust for hatred and destruction. And he basically says, look, I'm a physicist. This is where my expertise ends. And so he hands the whole terrifying problem over to Freud, the one man he thinks can possibly solve the enigma of human nature.
So Freud gets the letter and he accepts the challenge. But in a classic Freud move, the first thing he does is reframe the entire problem. He tells Einstein that before we can even talk about war, we have to dig deeper into what we even mean by right and law. Here's his radical idea. Freud argues that right, or law, isn't the opposite of violence. It's just a more organized version of it. He says, right is the might of a community. Think about it. A bunch of weaker people can team up to overpower one strong person. So law doesn't get rid of violence. It just centralizes it. It's the community's might against the individuals. Okay. With that groundwork laid, Freud finally turns to Einstein's big question about our destructive nature. And he doesn't pull any punches. He basically says, you're absolutely right. He confirms this destructive instinct is real, tells Einstein he's been studying it like crazy, and now he's ready to explain it all. And what comes next is really Freud's grand theory of everything when it comes to human nature. He argues that pretty much everything we do is driven by a timeless, epic battle between two fundamental instincts. The first force he calls eros. Now, this isn't just about romance. It's the life instinct. It's the drive in us that wants to create, to bring things together, to unify, to love, basically to build up and preserve life in every possible way. And fighting against eros always is what Freud grimly calls the death instinct. This is the drive toward aggression, destruction, and pure hate. He theorized its ultimate goal is to tear everything down, to return all living things to their original state of, well, nothingness, to inert matter. So this is the central conflict. All of human history, from building incredible cities to fighting horrific wars, is just the external show of this constant internal tug of war. Eros builds society, and the death instinct drives us to tear it all down. But here's the really crucial point. Freud says these two forces are never pure. They're always mixed together, or alloyed, as he puts it. I mean, even a simple act of self-preservation, which is driven by the life instinct, eros, requires a little aggression to defend yourself. The two are totally inseparable. So if this destructive instinct is just baked into our DNA, is that it? Are we just doomed? If we can't get rid of it, Freud asks, is there at least a way to, divert it so it doesn't always have to end in war? And this is where Freud finally offers his prescription.
And spoiler alert, there's no magic pill. Instead, he suggests a bunch of indirect methods, and they're all designed to do one thing: strengthen the forces of Eros, the only thing powerful enough to fight back against our destructive side.
So what does he suggest? Well, basically, anything that builds civilization, things that create real emotional bonds between people, that build a sense of shared community, what he calls identification. He also says we need to strengthen our intellect so our rational minds can get a better handle on our primal instincts.
But here's the thing. Freud was not an optimist. He ends his letter with this absolutely haunting metaphor, admitting that while, yeah, these cultural changes are our best shot, they are agonizingly slow. There was no guarantee they would work in time to save anyone. And the terrible, tragic irony is that Freud's pessimism was completely, terrifyingly right. While these two incredible minds were debating how to stop the next war, the very architects of that war were already grabbing the levers of power. Just look at this timeline. Their letters were published as a pamphlet in March of 1933. Just 2 months before that, in January, Adolf Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. History was about to provide its own horrible, brutal answer to Einstein's question. And get this, the first German edition of their exchange was limited to only 2,000 copies. Just 2,000. Their profound warning, this incredible plea for reason, was just lost. It was a whisper, drowned out by the screams of hatred that were about to consume the entire world.
Their exchange, why war? It remains this incredible historical artifact. You know, it's like a flash of pure reason in an age that was descending into madness. It's a perfect testament to that eternal struggle Freud described, the battle between our best angels and our worst demons. And all of this leaves us right back where they were. After everything that's happened since 1932, all the progress, all the horror, we are still stuck with the exact same question they were asking each other. A question that, you could argue, still defines the very future of our civilization.